every day, every night, month after month, year after year. They're there for us. And we're here today to say thank you to our police officers and to say that we salute you. Police officers who direct traffic after church. They're the first ones on the scene when there's a car accident. They're hunting down criminals day and night to keep our neighborhoods safe. And I think nearly everybody I talk to appreciates that. And we wanted to put together an event to kind of express that appreciation in a formal way.
I think it's only appropriate that we all come out and point out the millions and millions of wonderful deeds that all law enforcement people do every day that don't get publicity.
The badge is a ticket to the greatest show on earth. You get to see the good, the bad, and the ugly. Dutchess County, we have a little over 340,000 people. It's 818 square miles. You take a look at all law enforcement, from the city, the town, East Fishkill, all the towns that are represented here today. They're some of the finest men and women you'll ever meet. They live in their community.
I've spent a lot of hours doing in-service training with the police. I've spent a lot of time in the courtroom arguing on behalf of what the police did. And I always am left with one really, really important burning question. What's wrong with these people who become police officers? What kind of person runs towards danger, approaches someone with a gun or a knife when the rest of us would retreat? What kind of person crawls around on their hands and knees on a disgusting, bloody crime scene or a drug house gathering trace evidence? What kind of person sits in an interview room with an abhorrent defendant who did something terrible to a child and pretends to get along with them for a few hours? And the answer is, of course, it's a person with a true vocation, not just a career vocation. It's someone who's chosen to risk their own safety and their life for the protection of the rest of us.
There was a moment in the 20 years I've held elected office that changed my perspective of law enforcement immeasurably. 4:22 p.m. on June 17th, 1997, I received a phone call from the Tivoli Rescue Squad informing me that a young mother and her 4-year-old daughter had a horrific crime committed against them. And in that one moment, that woman and child's life changed forever. And with it, a 2-square-mile community, 1,300 residents, all felt as if they had been victimized. The very first phone call I received was from Butch Anderson. And what I witnessed was every layer of law enforcement, local, county, state, federal, came together in a small place and treated that crime with the seriousness, with the deliberate approach, with every resource they could. And for the course of time it took to engage in that investigation, men and women not only provided safety and security, basic law enforcement. Not only were they investigating this horrific crime, but they were also providing comfort to men and women who were living in fear, who thought that they had been victimized, that they had been hurt. And I saw the great compassion that exists in these men and women who serve in law enforcement. If every citizen could see that in you, we would be a much better place.
Like many of us, the holidays are a joyous time. But for us in law enforcement, both active and retired, that time around Christmas was really tough. When you lose 2 police officers in the way that those 2 police officers were shot and killed in New York City, that took a little bit out of my Christmas. Actually, it took a lot out of my Christmas because I couldn't get enough of the news. I couldn't get enough of what happened and why it happened and who that person was that committed that horrific crime. And we all were waiting. One of the funerals, because we're going to go, and I went with my son Chris. There came a point in time which was the most powerful point that I had ever felt or witnessed in all of the funerals that I've gone to. The parish priest said, I want everybody in the church and I want everybody outside to hold hands. And we stood there holding hands with cops from all over the world, ordinary citizens, people you didn't even know, as they gave a prayer in remembrance of Officer Ramos and also for police officers to be safe. And you could hear a pin drop. And then when the prayer was over and our hands came down with the white gloves, it was still silence. And then everybody kind of looked around at one another and realized how important that moment was for all of us to be holding hands, people we didn't even know, because we all came together as a community that day. And that's what we need to do every day. And that's what we really need to do now more than ever. And this is a start here today, especially for our men and women in law enforcement, to know that we care about you, we support you, we are always worried when you go out and do the job. But again, you need to know that we are there for you.
To say that this is a tough and stressful, if not even a strange time for us in law enforcement is truly an understatement. We currently receive death threats daily and have just witnessed the cold-blooded execution of 2 New York City police officers. Detectives Wei Jianlu and Rafael Ramos were shot not because of the color of their skin. They were shot dead because of the color of the uniform and what that uniform represents. Now, in my almost 36 years of law enforcement, I've always been proud to wear my uniform. I and my fellow brothers and sisters who also don the same uniform, regardless of our race, religious beliefs, and color of our skin, profess to ensure that collectively our great American freedoms were protected. And yes, I agree, Black Lives Matter. As a law enforcement officer, the first thing I was taught was that all lives matter. 2015, after 20 years of increasing drop in crime, especially violent crime, and the thousands of lives saved, many of them minority lives, in neighborhoods where minority lives are disrespected by their very own. Just as we were disrespected when I was undercover, it cannot be denied that New York City and most of the country now is a much better and safer place. With all the success, we in law enforcement are facing a backlash. We are demonized, sometimes by the very folks that were not even young enough or born to realize how the streets were 30 years ago. We are called racist, even though large departments such as the NYPD are now predominantly more racially diversified than they've ever been in their history. And through all of this tumultuous times, the silence of some of our highest elected officials is deafening. Rhetoric, vilifying, condemning, passing judgment, or coming to conclusions before the facts are known can cause and even empower those unstable enough to commit atrocities. Now more than ever, we should be striving for strong police-community relations. Instead of promoting anger, we should be promoting solutions. In closing, I want to thank all of you for your support of your police. I am so very proud to be here. I am so very proud of our law enforcement professionals. I respect them, for they truly are the thin blue line that preserves our values and our way of life. God bless, and let's hope for a better America. Thank you.